So let's take a look at, because I'm pretty sure, I'm reasonably sure we actually watched the trailer for this movie on stream. I do seem to recall because Seth Rogen, if I recall, is what's the pig's name? Oh, I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting what the pig's name is. Napoleon. Thank you. Yeah, Seth Rogen is the voice of Napoleon in this movie. Like, they're getting like big name actors to play these animals, and they're making it seem like it's cutesy. They're like the trailer made it seem like this was going to be a cutesy kids movie when it's fucking fascism we're talking about. So let's see what Draker has to say about this.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this.
I parked the car! Let's have no one do that again.
Animal Farm.
I don't remember that. I don't remember this in the trailer that we saw. Oh, fuck.
Animal Farm.
Let us discuss the concept of death of the author, shall we, dear viewer? Based on the 1960s essay by the French literary critic Roland Barthes, it suggests that when it comes to assessing a piece of media, the original intent and ideas of the creator are less relevant than the individual perceptions and experiences of the audience.
Alright, guy.
Basically, it doesn't matter what the creator of the work tried to say with it. Once it's released into the world, all that really matters is what you personally take from it.
That doesn't make sense.
And by golly, I do believe that Andy Serkis is pushing...
That statement is not wrong. We see it all the fucking time these days, that when be it author, be it musician, be it filmmaker, it literally doesn't matter what their intention is when they create their specific piece of art. Once it gets out to the world, their intention doesn't fucking matter anymore. The intention of the artist means fuck all in the 21st century. And it's all about what do I perceive it as, because that is the only proper way that it can be perceived, because I say so. So if I say that this particular piece of art, whatever it might be, is fascist, or is communist, or is racist, or is transphobic, or is anti-racist, or anti-transphobic, or anti-fascist, regardless, if that was the artist's original intention, well, that doesn't matter anymore, because it's what's important to me. It's what, and I'm speaking colloquially, of course. Like, it's only about the fees that I get that matter, and not that I could be blatantly misinterpreting the artist's original intention for the work that they've created. And so basically, we're seeing misinterpretations of this shit all over the place. For God's sake, look at Lord of the Rings. Look at Lord of the Rings and how it is being grossly misinterpreted to be racist in the modern day. There are people that are looking at the works of J.R.R. Tolkien and saying that he was being raped that he was basically using orcs to basically promote his racism. Because it feels right to them, because it helps them to push their agenda. So, yes, it's not news app, but that's what I'm saying. This French, I don't know if he was just a critique or if he was just a philosopher, whatever. What I'm saying is he's not wrong. He is absolutely correct in what he said about once in his words, an author releases their works into the world, the author's intention no longer means fucking anything.
That doesn't make sense.
And by golly, I do believe that Andy Serkis is pushing that concept to its limits with his very unique take on Animal Farm, which, reimagines George Orwell's satirical critique of totalitarian communism and Stalin's cult of personality as a wacky contemporary animated comedy starring Seth Rogen, where the real enemy is a tech billionaire who happens to drive a Cybertruck.
No! No, no fucking way. Are you fucking kidding me right now? That's the storyline? That they're Holy shit. They're actually doing it. This is exactly what I've been talking about. Okay, I'm gonna let it keep playing and see if my fears get more or less realized. And I'll talk about it later.
Right.
You know, I can't be 100% sure with this one, but I'm pretty confident we live in the worst timeline imaginable. Look, I'm not against the concept of adapting classic stories to fit with contemporary events, as long as they stay true to the original themes and ideas. Like Apocalypse Now took Joseph Conrad's novel Heart of Darkness, which was originally set in 19th century Africa, and transplanted it into 1960s Vietnam. It worked in that case because both stories dealt with the same basic ideas: the dehumanizing and corrupting nature of power, the loss of morality when the civilization that underpins it vanishes, the dangers of imperialism and colonialism. But what happens when you specifically set out to change the very core of the story to deliver a completely different message than the one intended by the author? Well, you end up with Animal Farm, I guess. But why does it really matter? Well, it matters because Animal Farm just so happens to be one of the most iconic and widely referenced political satires ever written, a scathing critique of totalitarian communism and Stalin's cult of personality, and a pretty biting observation about human nature, our greed, our lust for power, and our willingness to compromise our moral principles for personal gain.
Okay, I'm just gonna say it now. Okay, before I lose my thought, and in case Critical Drinker doesn't actually talk about this. They're actually, like, this is Hollywood actually doing what I have been warning about for probably close to a year now. Which is, they are trying to eliminate the concept of evil. They're trying to eliminate the concept of the bad guy. Because the original Animal Farm was showcasing communism and fascism bad. And in this movie, by having the bad guy be some tech billionaire that drives a Cybertruck and the animals becoming the heroes for it, they're turning the fascists into the heroes. This is Hollywood doing exactly what I have been warning about and taking the concept of fascism and saying, this is actually what you want. These are actually the good guys. Don't believe your own lying eyes. There is no good, there is no bad, but trust us, these are the good guys. The fascists and the communists are the good guys because they're going to save you from the evil tech billionaires. It's eliminating the concept of evil so that when evil rears its head, you won't recognize it until you're already under its boot. That's what this is.
Sure, it's not really the sort of thing that lends itself to a goofy Seth Rogen kids comedy whose main message seems to be rich people bad. Maybe you should lead by example, Seth, and donate all that money you've got in the bank. Now, you might find this hard to believe nowadays, but once upon a time, I actually used to read books, and George Orwell's works made quite the impression on
although I think he
teenage
still
me.
does.
So I have to admit, I do have a certain attachment to Animal Farm. The original novella roughly follows the events of the Russian Revolution and the eventual rise of Stalin as sole dictator and the purges and totalitarianism that came with him. The animals of Manor Farm stage a rebellion against their corrupt and incompetent human overlords, i.e. the Russian aristocracy, and usher in a new society based on the promise of equality and freedom for all, as imagined by Old Major, basically a combination of Marx and Lenin, who dies before he can see his dream accomplished. In the power vacuum that follows, a pair of pigs, Napoleon and Snowball, Stalin and Trotsky, fight for control of the farm until Snowball eventually gets pushed out and exiled and Napoleon becomes the supreme leader. The more time that passes, the more his rule devolves into a dictatorship as he purges the farm of his enemies, real or imagined, and keeps the population in perpetual fear and poverty despite assuring them that they're better off than they were before. Eventually, he and the other pigs become so human in their behaviour that they end up negotiating and trading with actual humans from other farms, walking around on two legs and hosting lavish parties while the rest of the animals watch from outside. With all their greed and their lies and their lust for power, they've become the very thing they swore to overthrow.
Great concept for a kids movie, isn't it? Doesn't this sound like the perfect kind of story to be converting into a kids movie, chat? Yes, let us feed the children fascism and communism. Genius fucking idea. I'm telling you. I've been talking about this for a year. We're starting to get in, we're starting to get into a kind of a culmination of what I've been saying, where it's taking the concept of the bad guy, taking the concept of evil, and we have been systematically seeing Hollywood say, well, there's really no such thing as the bad guy. There's really no such thing as someone that's evil. They're all just misunderstood good guys, and you should actually sympathize with them. We're starting to see it, I think, in the culmination of this movie, where they're taking a very, very adult concept and they're sticking it into a kids movie and making the fascists heroes.
I mean, it's not exactly subtle, but in case you still don't get it, Orwell himself straight up explained multiple times what his intent was with Animal Farm. It was a straight up critique of Stalinism and the authoritarianist dictatorships of the time, but more than that, it was a critique of the political ideals that brought them into existence in the first place. No matter how noble your intentions and no matter how much you might promise freedom and equality, a new class of rulers and aristocrats is always going to rise up, just with different names. The cycle of revolution, corruption, and exploitation keeps repeating because fundamentally, humans are not equal and you can't force them to be. There's always going to be some arsehole who wants more. More money, more resources, more power. And he's willing to break, exploit, or just straight up rewrite the rules to get what he wants. It's all very interesting stuff. The obvious problem these days, though, is twofold. One, the satire is kind of lost because most people now don't even have a functioning understanding of what the Russian Revolution was, never mind the finer details, the timeline of events, or the major players involved. And two, the idea of a Hollywood movie that suggests there might be a few problems with this whole socialism thing is a bit like striding into the Vatican in rainbow-coloured underwear and saying, hey chaps, this whole religion thing's a bit silly, isn't it? It's clearly never gonna happen, and so we end up with this thing instead, where the real villain of the piece is a thinly veiled stand-in for Elon Musk, and the corruption of the Animal Farm utopia doesn't come about because of personal ambition, paranoia, and the flawed nature of the human condition, but because big houses and sports cars, am I right?
Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
And the thing I can't help but wondering is, why? Don't get me wrong, there's definitely plenty of things to criticise about modern day crony capitalism, worker exploitation and corporate monopolies, but Animal Farm isn't the framework to do it in. Fundamentally, you're trying to tell the wrong story in the wrong setting, and it would have been way easier, and probably less intellectually offensive, to just come up with a whole new narrative that better suits your objectives. I honestly can't believe that Andy Serkis is directing this. I can't believe he's been working on this project for 15 years, and this is what he produced. I can't believe...
Okay, I have to wonder how much the studio influenced Andy Serkis on this. Is this really what Andy Serkis's vision was for doing Animal Farm? I don't know. I want to believe that this was studio interference in a major way. I want to believe that, but I flat out don't know. Yeah, like Atashi, like yeah, it's maybe he was under contract. Maybe that was it. Maybe he was just under contract for it, and and didn't have a choice. Who knows? I don't know. I am not. I don't have the information, so I'm not going to say that that this was all Andy Serkis and that he decided he wanted to turn fascism into a children's movie. And I'm not going to say that the studio basically came down and said, "Nope, we're going to do it this way," and Andy Serkis was forced to do it. It's going to come out. That much I can tell you. It's going to come out one way or the other. Either this was Andy Serkis's baby and this was his idea, or it's going to come out that this was all the studio, that Andy Serkis had a very different idea of what movie he wanted to make, and the studio came in and said, "Nope, we're making it this way. We're going to turn fascism into a kids movie." It's going to come out. Maybe before, maybe after, but it is going to come out.
Seth Rogen is still getting hired for movies when his films are usually the place where fun, common sense, and good taste go to die. In short, I think that remaking Animal Farm for modern audiences might have been a bad idea.
You think?
Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Good God, that... All I can say, weren't you? I said this was coming. I 100% said this was coming. I've been saying it for a year.